Taking a few minutes to get us to go live. Hey, and we are live right in the middle of me saying it's taking a few minutes for us to go live because that's just exactly how it's supposed to happen. Hey, what's up? It's Thursday night. It is 9:03 p.m. Eastern time, which means it's time for our Master Chat recap here. We had just an incredible chat, super active, so much value, and this was just a good chat. So I'm excited to dive into it with Tyler Cummings. We got Tyler here from School Status. And from many other things with the team in many different ways over the last probably 12 to 18 months. So excited to dive into this and chat with Tyler about the chat. Get your thoughts in the comments. If you're watching, please jump in the comments. Let us know that you're here with us. Let us know where you're at. Let us know what you're watching on. Let us know if you're in the chat. Let us know what you think about Tyler's hair. I don't even care. Let us know something. Just give us some comments. That we'll get into it. We'll be right back in about 1 minute. Can't help it. I'm just like always just jamming. Yeah. No matter how many times I hear it, I'm just jamming. So we're here. So, man, brother, appreciate you being back on here. I'm trying to think of all the times. I know you've done at least one other chat, right? I think we've gone live. You've been some daily drop-ins too?
Did one of those.
Okay, and then the podcast.
Yeah.
Podcast was a while ago, huh? That was like the first time, I think. Yeah, it was a while ago.
I think it's almost a year ago now.
I think we're about a year. Yeah, so it's awesome to have you on again. Love the work that you and your team do and love the passion that you all do it with. So this was a great chat. Just good conversation going on all around, value, like community, the whole thing. So before we get into like all of that, Tyler, for anybody who doesn't know who you are and isn't connected to you, can you do a quick little who is Tyler? What do you do? Where are you at? That whole thing.
Yeah. Tyler Cummings. It's on the screen there. But I am with School Status. School Status, we are a data analytics and communication platform. So we kind of take those two things and we try to marry them together. Because what we want to do is we want to have that data, but we want to do something with it. And we think that the best thing to do is talk to parents about that data. So that's what we do as a company. I live just outside of Memphis, Tennessee, but I'm in Mississippi. So it was cold last week. Gosh, it was cold last week, but it was 70 degrees today. So it's good to be back in normal weather.
It came down in Texas. They're all freezing last week, and then it's like 75 and stuff there now. So
we had the same weather they had.
Little bit of a warm spell up here in Ohio. It is currently 30 degrees. It was up to 37 today. I'm like, it's supposed to be like 46 tomorrow. I'm like, I gotta get my shorts out again. Like,
that's right.
It's getting there. So, really good chat. It was the topic was how to identify and mitigate learning loss, and I think it just really connected with people. The topic and then the questions really drove a lot of good conversation and stuff. So, when you decided, when you got thinking on this, when you put together the topic and the question, sort of, I always love to find out like what was going through your head, what were you thinking about, what were you hoping that people participating were going to either connect with or walk away with and get out of this chat. Like, what was that for you?
So this is something that we've been thinking about at School Status a lot. We've been thinking about learning loss a lot. So we are based in Mississippi, which means that we dealt heavily with Katrina. Katrina devastated New Orleans, of course, but really devastated Mississippi. And I taught Katrina kids, kids that had to leave South Mississippi, Louisiana, and had to move north, move west, move wherever, but they had to leave. And those kids, they missed out on, if it was a kindergartner, right, in 2005, that kindergartner missed his entire kindergarten year. And so then they came in, and then because they were 7 years old, they were put in first grade, and so they just missed kindergarten. And so this COVID crisis really kind of parallels a lot with what's happening there. It's not exactly the same, of course. It's not one-to-one. It's not the perfect parallel, but it was something that we really think is important to think about. We're not thinking about like missing a test. Like that's what a lot of people think when they hear learning loss. Like, oh yeah, it's testing. We're going to deal with a test. That's not what we care about. What we care about is monitoring, identifying, and looking at data points over a period of time so that we can better identify those kids that might slip through the cracks. What we want to do is make sure they don't. And so that's something that we've really been trying to focus on, is not letting anybody slip through the cracks.
And so what was it that you were hoping is that what you were hoping people would walk away with today? Is that focus, or was it?
I was hoping so. Yeah, I was hoping that we could change the conversation on learning loss from, because I know that a lot of people think, hey, we're talking about testing and that kind of stuff. And I want to change the focus from that, at least try, and think more about focusing on what's going to happen to these kids next year. Like these kids that are in a hybrid model right now are going to go back to a traditional model at some point, likely. And so what's that going to look like? What's it going to look like when they go from virtual to in person? How are we going to deal with those kids that were in person right now, who are in the same districts as kids that are virtual? What does that look like when they come back together? So there's going to be some differences, and we've got to be able to identify what those differences are today so that we can better work with those differences tomorrow.
Gotcha. And so did you feel like, based on the answers and the conversation going, did you feel like that we got there as a chat tonight, as a community?
I don't know, because it's one of those ongoing things, right? So like, this isn't going to be something that goes away tomorrow. So this is going to be a thing that we're going to be building on for the next 10, 15 years. So did we get there tonight? Man, I hope so. But but I think if we could just reframe that conversation and rethink about those issues, that was my goal. And I think that we did get to that.
Yeah, the conversation was definitely there. Want to say hi to a few folks. Michelle, always great to see you. Livia, great to see you. Jillian's in the house. Megan Wells is here. Brad Hughes is here. Good to see everyone. Appreciate jumping in the chat. So, Tyler, would like to know, like, was there anything, whenever I phrase this, I always forget to start with it, so I'm going to start with it tonight. Like, I'm not asking for specific tweets, because that would be crazy and really unfair. But more, and if one's sticking out, great, but more so, like, were there any themes or particular answers, like a summary of an answer that really, like, popped out at you, either in a good way, or a bad way, or a shocking way, or excited way, or anything like that a few of those that might have popped out to you?
One that really stood out, the question was, what can parents do at home to help support? And overwhelmingly, the answer was read. So English teacher here, yes, 100%, that's it.
And my people,
but it was funny, because when I asked that question, I wasn't really thinking that, but that is the right answer, I think. Like, read to your kids, or if they're older. My son is in 6th grade, so he's a little bit older. I'm not reading to him every night, but I try to model reading and encourage reading.
Yeah.
We were it was one of the very few times that they've gone to the grocery store in the last year. But we were at the grocery store, and there were some books, and he's like, "Can I get a book?" Yes,
absolutely.
You can. Right? Yeah. And I said to him afterwards, anytime if my son ever asks me to buy him a book, the answer is going to be yes. So, and reading is, I think, that's a big thing, and especially all that research 0 to 5 with reading is huge. I did a lot of that in grad school, so there's a lot of research there, but it moves on past that as well.
Yeah, and then that's absolutely true. We've been, as parents who have 2 young kids that are virtual, which we like them to stay virtual all year, and they're doing very well. The school has done a fantastic job. We're very fortunate because of that. But we're trying to read even more. We've always done stories at night. We're trying to read more with them, and really just trying to find every opportunity we can to sort of, I don't want to say force, but give them the opportunity to use their learning. So, like, tonight was a problem. I'm taking my daughter to dance, where they do an amazing job with their social distancing and everything, and let the kids still dance. And we were talking because today was one of my brother's birthdays, and she was trying to figure out how much older her uncle was than her. And she was asking me, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, let's use math here, right? So just like finding those ways to have some fun and do that, and honestly, in the virtual setting, because we need to be more involved in it with her. I know where she's at, like more so than I ever would have before, because you put so much trust as parents. We put so much trust in educators for good reason, because they know what they're doing. That sometimes we don't always know exactly where our own kids are at, right? So there's this weird positive piece to that where I really enjoy just being so much more in tune with their, and like really watching their growth and stuff and those little things, so that I can pull literally from an image in my head from a worksheet she worked on in math or one of the games or whatever. It's been really cool. And I think it was question 1 where you were talking about like some of the silver linings, the positives that we can pull out of, which we've been talking about so much, is like, what are the things, like, yes, it's been a negative, right? It's been horrible. It's been tragic. It's been all these things, but what positives can we find out of it? What conversations can we continue going that have been highlighted, and all these little things? I think that's one of them for me personally, is this I hope that I can discipline myself and stay as passionate about it as when they get back into quote unquote normal, for me to still be as involved and as in tune with that. And I think another big piece also is just, I hope that people also continue to be as aware of and appreciative of the amazing work that our educators do. I try to email my kids' students, teachers, or my kids' teachers every 3 weeks, just like, hey, just want you to know, like, you're doing awesome. Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I'm a little closer to it now, right? So it's a different for that, but I'm just like, it's incredible what they're having to go through. So anyway, that was my little rant about what I've learned there. So I'm going to bring up Brad. I haven't read this yet, so I'm just bringing up. We're going to read it. I prefer to shift the focus from learning loss to learning needs. Learning needs within a cohort will always differ. How we assess these needs and plan appropriate instruction. Yeah, I love that. I mean, we've talked so much, and Brad's been on some conversation with us, and Chad's been saying a lot. That there is no really behind. It's where they're at, right? And that's what we're talking about. Like, and you were talking about, like, how do we assess that? How do we assess the difference of where a kid who might have had more in person and or hybrid versus someone who had virtual, like, and is there a difference? And if so, what is the difference? And how do we address that when they're now potentially in the same classrooms? Right? And all this, like, there's a lot. And I think you're right, Tyler, you hit it. Those conversations have to happen now so that we're ready for whenever that day comes. So I love that. Janice, good to see you here. She absolutely agrees with Brad. Brad just dropping more here. We may also shift the focus from gaps to growth. Okay, so we're talking about from loss to needs, gaps to growth. I'm sensing something here, Brad. I like it. When students return, how may we assess and leverage growth that may have occurred in exceptional circumstances? I think that's a great way to look at it as well. And we should just bring Brad on it to keep talking here. I love it. I love you, Brad. Persistent unlearned loss promotes fear, which is never a thing. I absolutely agree with all that. So. And I think that ties into the conversation. And I think we saw a lot of that in the chat tonight too. We did, yeah. Around that and around how are we focusing on these things and addressing them and stuff. And I think that's really great. Yeah. So I got to give some. I hope you're taking the props here, Tyler, because you got Brad going, and that means the questions were there. And I think it was Jillian that mentioned earlier, just said, man, those questions, Tyler, they just got us going. And that's to be like for I don't know what number Mastery Chat this is for us, but it's like year 4 of literally never missing a Thursday. And those are my favorite chats, where it's not even necessarily like, oh, this was my favorite topic ever or anything like that. Like, it's always like, is this a topic that really started conversation, right? And I felt that tonight. The conversations were really strong. So kudos to you on that. It was really great.
Think about with this, yeah.
There absolutely is. Go ahead.
I was just thinking, it's something that we need to think about moving forward. It's something that I hope that we don't just think about tonight and forget about tomorrow. I agree. I really want to think about this forever.
So Jillian's put a charge out there. So Brad, I think Brad should be writing a guest post for Teach Better about this, and you can tie it to this Mastery Chat. Brad, if you do that, I could probably put in a good word. We'll get that up in the publishing schedule, get it out right away, and you can tag Tyler on that, and it'd be awesome. So I'm not saying you have to, Brad, but life will be a lot cooler if you did.
School Status might also cross-publish that one, so you get some
okay.
more publicity there. Yeah,
I'm liking it. All right, it's laid out for you, Brad. It's up to you now, brother. So Tyler, I always love throwing questions live at the moderator. I think people enjoy watching, because one of the other things that I always love about Master Chat is like we're all in there, but you have a conversation with someone who was in the chat, and you're like, I didn't even know you were in the chat because it moves so fast. You don't,
it does.
you don't always see anyone, right? Yeah. So like a lot of times with the moderator, like I'm in there, and I'm trying to like say hi to people when I watch people, and I'm trying to tweet that. Like a lot of times, like your stuff flies right by me, and I just don't even catch it, right? Mm-hmm. So this is really fun for me, but I also love just having you kind of elaborate on answers and stuff too. So I'm gonna pick all these questions. I didn't think about it beforehand. I'm gonna do it now. We talked about the parents thing. Trying to get one that's not like direct, like what is yours? This is actually, I think this is a fun one for me because I'm going to put a stipulation on it for you. I'm not sure how you answer because I didn't see it, but you said one-to-one communication with parents is so important for student success. What tools, platforms do you use to call parents directly? So here's what I want to put on you. I want to see if you have a few different types of tools that are out there, and then tell me about School Status. Can I put that on you? Is that that's probably challenging? But
it's
because I know that obviously that's one that can do that all for you. But
School Status can do it all for you.
So kind of go there with me, and I know you are just a huge fan of the call piece of that. So like go ahead and elaborate on all that. I think.
So I think the biggest thing with that is that we have to meet parents where they are. So if a parent's used to texting, we need to text them. If parents are used to calling, we need to call them. If they're used to an app, use the app, right? So like we've got to meet the parents where they are, but we are in so many disparate districts, right? So like there are at least, especially in Mississippi, where I am, it's a pretty well-to-do area. But travel 20 miles further south, and you're in the Mississippi Delta, which is the poorest region in the United States. So, you've got, do those parents have smartphones? Maybe, maybe not. Do they have landlines? Maybe, maybe not. Do they have flip phones? Maybe, you're not sure. So we've got to meet them. We can't just expect that parents have an app that we can download and use, right? So we got to meet them where they are. And we've got to use the methods of communication that they're used to. And that might even be like a piece of paper, a note sent home, one of the, those kinds of things. Yeah. It could be as simple as that. It could be, a web page, but then again, not everybody has access to the internet at home. And this COVID crisis has really emphasized that, even where I am, it's a rather well-to-do area, and I've got some decent internet speeds at my house, but I've got good friends that live just a few miles away, and they're not in the service area for what am I on, Comcast. So they literally have dial-up in a almost $1 million home, right? And they've got dial-up. Wow. So it's just how it is. Hopefully they're getting some stuff soon. But again, we just have to meet those parents where they are with the tools that they're used to using, whether that is calling, whether that's texting, whether it's email, whether that's a note home. So of course, School Status does all of those things. And that's what we think is really kind of cool about what we do, is that we can meet parents where they are with those tools. We can call, text, email. Teachers can call, text, email from their cell phone. Somebody said, I love calling, but I don't like doing it right now because I'm not at school, because they didn't want to give out their cell phone. You can call from your cell phone without giving out your cell phone number in School Status. And so that's what's kind of cool. So you can make that phone call from your phone, talk to a parent, have all that communication, and all of that communication, whether it's call, text, email, it's automatically logged, automatically recorded. So that one-to-one is happening. As administrators can monitor that one-to-one. Teachers, you can feel comfortable that your conversations are not going to be taken over by an angry parent, because you've got that backup. They said some mean things, but that's okay because we've got it here. Those kind of things. So that's kind of what we want to do, is have those conversations and make sure that they're transparent. Make sure they're also in the methods that parents are used to.
Love it. Yeah, sticking on that because I love the work that you're doing, and like I said before, just the passion that you and your team do it with. But tell us, is there anything exciting going on? Like, what's got you excited about schools? I know you're always excited about school status, so like that's just a given.
Of
Like,
course.
but what's on the horizon? What anything got you excited
So,
that you can share without getting in trouble? Anything like that going on?
well, we got tons of things in the pipeline. I can't share, but there are some cool things. One of the cool things that we're doing, so School Status started as a data analytics thing. What we really started doing, like the company was founded because in Mississippi, we've got this crazy state test model that is really kind of difficult to understand. And so it started in Mississippi to look at, the state testing model and help make sense of that. And then we kind of stumbled into communications. That was kind of an accident. And I came on board just as we discovered communications. And so that's kind of been, what I do. Mm-hmm. But we've really moved back into some data analytics and worked really hard with custom dashboarding and looking at. So one of the cool things that we do is it does not matter what test platform you might use, whether it's NWEA or ELS or STAR or, it could be anything, right? But we'll take any of those data sets plus attendance, plus grades, plus communication data and compare all of that stuff together in our reporting tools. And we've rebuilt our reporting tools recently so that it makes it really easy to look at this data and compare student to student, teacher to teacher, test to test. But more importantly, we can use this reporting tool to kind of pay attention to these communications. Are they quality? Or are they just, voicemails? Are they mass messages? Are they one-to-one messages? And that's a really cool thing.
Yeah. And confirm for me, because I'm sure some people are wondering right now, just curiosity. School Status, that is not something. It's not an app that an individual teacher can purchase, right? It's like at least the building. If not, it's a district level purchase, right? Okay, that's what
usually district level, but we can go school level.
Okay, gotcha. I was sure. I just want to confirm. I didn't want to assume that. So yeah. And that's primarily because of all the data that you pull in from everything, which is what one of the part that I really like about it is that like it's the communication focus, but it's data driven communication.
Exactly.
And then communication data that then drives more communication later on that's driven by all the data. And I love that. I think that's really good. I don't know if Dave Schmidt has met you, but or heard about it yet, but I'm just thinking of Dave right now. Anybody's watching knows Dave's going, like Dave would love this. He's all about data driven. So I need to make sure I mention that to Dave. Anyway, so if you don't know, it's schoolstatus.com is the website. So you can go check things out there, share it with your admin. If you are an admin, just check it out. You can obviously reach out to Tyler to learn more about that. Tyler, really appreciate you coming on, man. This was a good chat.
It was.
I think I've said it a bunch. I'm going to continue to say it though. Like the conversations show the quality of a great topic, timely topic, good questions that really got thoughts going. Pretty sure we got a Brad Hughes blog coming as well. If that does happen, I see Livia in there. So Livia's like, come on. She's probably already pinging or texting Brad. She's ready to edit it, and we'll get it done. And if that happens, we'll make sure that you have it in your hands as well.
Awesome.
So really appreciate you, brother. Appreciate all the work you do. Everyone who's in the comments, appreciate you all so much for jumping in and hanging out with us, and everyone who's in the Twitter chat as well. We'll be back next week, as always, with our chat again. Same time. 8 o'clock Eastern every Thursday night. So we'll be back then. And then, of course, recapping afterwards with that. So really appreciate you all for checking, for chiming in, checking in, hanging out with us. And Tyler, again, thank you so much, brother. We will see you all next week.
Thank you.